On the subject, then, of the internet changing the way we think, read and remember, he's here, as ever, to discuss books with us, if not the inner machinations of the internet. Ali Catterall, welcome back to Six Music. How are you?
I'm all right, how are you?
What have you started with this? Well, not you, I guess, Nicholas Carr.
Nicholas Carr, yes. This all started with a 2008 article he wrote.
Yeah.
Blogging called Is Google Making Us Stupid?
Yeah.
And 2 years later, he's essentially broadened that argument out into this book, The Shallows, whose title suggests that he's not exactly going to be complimentary about what the internet is doing to us.
Absolutely. Well, a few comments so far on this. On Twitter, someone saying, no, modern culture is ruining the way we think. There's no class to anything anymore. It's all knackered. I think asking if the internet is killing our brain on Twitter is irony, says Lord Danos. Very nice. And David says, not so much the way we think, it just increases laziness, the one trait that humans will never shake off. So what does Nicholas Carr think?
Well, funny enough, he's not... a lot of these comments have been about the content itself, and he's not actually having a go at the content of the internet, because this is an old argument. Whenever a new media has come around, like newspapers or the radio or TV or whatever, everyone bangs on about, you know, how terrible the content is, and everyone gets in a froth and a hue and cry about it. That's not what he's concerned with.
Okay.
What he's concerned with is the actual medium itself, what it's doing to our brains. Now, the thesis that he posits is that brains are plastic. Basically, they can be moulded and adapt into new forms. Well, not our brains exactly, but our memories can. The way that we cope with things.
The way that we're wired.
The way that we're wired. And he's saying it's actually rewiring our brain, internet use. He's saying the way that we're clicking and surfing, or power browsing, as he calls it. Yeah, it's a great term, power surfing. Is that we're losing concentration, is that we're losing the capacity for deep contemplation and deep thoughts because of all our clicking and surfing and scurrying and hopping like fleas from one, hyperlink to, to another.
Disparaging use of analogy there, Ali. Are you feeling that you agree with him there?
I get... Sometimes I get slightly troubled, I think, by my overuse of the internet. The fact that, and particularly as a writer, as a self-employed writer, when I'm there doing a piece of writing and I'm continually, habitually distracted by YouTube or emails, or things like that. I'm usually too lazy to even procrastinate. So the internet really gives me a hard time.
Exacerbated. Yeah. So what have we had from him before? Obviously, we had Is Google Making Us Stupid, and before that, we may have known him for The Big Switch.
That's correct, yeah.
So where does this book fit in, I guess, sort of generally for people? Is it kind of quite science-based, is it? It
is. Well, he's like any person who's got a thesis behind them. He's drummed up a bunch of experts to help his cause. Mm-hmm. Conversely, he's also been monstered and roasted alive in certain quarters of the internet, as you can imagine, by people perhaps with their own agenda to push.
Yeah.
But he's got a bunch of experts who will tell you that things like continuous clicking on hyperlink, does damage our concentration levels. The other fact is the brain is constantly changing and shaping itself anyway. Simply by learning to play the guitar, you're rewiring when your synapses and neurons. But I think, I think he's got a reasonably good argument going on, when he's not using sort of hysterical Daily Mail language, like I've got a few phrases here, an incredibly seductive blur, or the web's a technology of forgetfulness, So when he's not using that sort of hysterical language, it's a fairly reasoned and quite an elegant and
you
patient...
think there might be something in there? Okay.
I really do, yeah. I mean, it's food for thought, definitely.
Ali Catterall back on the other side of this, on the subject. I think it's dear to his heart, it's safe to say, of The Empire Strikes Back. Charles Douglas and Summertime for you on Six Music. So whether the internet is helping us or not in the manner of thinking in our brains, the debate rages on, and you're continuing to get in touch. Ali, though, we are back with the making of The Empire Strikes Back.
Dum, 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 dum.
I could have done the music for you. I could have got on with it. So who has compiled... I described both books actually today as behemoths, but that just looks enormous. Who's put this together?
J.W. Rinzler, or Jonathan Rinzler.
Who has case to, actually, because he's from, where do we know him from?
He's in a sanctum, he is. He's one of George Lucas's publishing editors, so he's absolutely close to God in this respect. Yeah.
Okay, and what is it? What have we got from the making of The Empire Strikes Back?
Well, for the 30th anniversary of The Empire Strikes Back, it is the definitive, and I mean this quite sincerely, it is the definitive making of The Empire Strikes Back. There has been a precedent, I'll say this. There was a guy called Alan Arnold, who wrote a 1980 book called Once Upon a Galaxy, a journal of the making of The Empire Strikes Back. But I've got to say, this is an extraordinary beast. I mean, just probably the size of the Death Star itself, just a little bit smaller than Death Star, and possibly able to obliterate smaller books in its
Yeah,
orbit.
I think it probably can. We'll take pictures and I'll tweet them, but I mean, this is insane.
It's incredible.
What's
I mean,
in there? What can possibly make it that long?
Just
I mean, I know
everything from matte paintings, extraordinary matte paintings from the artist involved called Ralph McQuarrie, which would pretty much justify the price on its own. The price, by the way, is £40.
Okay.
Or £40.
Is very good.
Very good, yeah.
Very good.
And it's got script transcripts, and it's got sketches, it's got notes, interviews with all the players, a transcript of a massive row, flaming row between Carrie Fisher and Harrison Ford at one point, in which he basically says, "You just think I'm like a bimbo, don't you?" You know, sort of stuff.
So behind the scenes gossip.
Absolutely brilliant.
What have you learnt? As I mean, obviously,
I've learned various things. For
you
instance,
are quite a fan, Ali. So
well, it's the best of the Star Wars movies. I think everyone agrees with that. Did you know, for instance, that Yoda, his original name was Buffy?
No. No.
A girl's name, have I? Buffy.
No, I'd
Buffy.
never have imagined it.
Do you know that Darth Vader was going to have a great big fortress of a castle, an evil fortress, replete with gargoyles?
And there are, I mean, there are sketches of these, or kind of these come up in the kind of
there's
text.
sketches
or?
of these, absolutely. There was going to be a water planet at one stage with an underwater city that I suppose later turned up in Phantom Menace.
Yeah.
There was going to be shots of the Wookiee homeworld. They built a full-size Millennium Falcon for the film, 65 foot wide by 80 foot long.
This is a man who is fairly excited. I think
I'm
it's
salivating and hyperventilating, I think it's fair to say.
redundant to ask you if you like it or not.
I
Ali.
loved it, and all my friends, particularly my male friends, loved it. I mean, if you've ever seen like a pride of big cats with a zebra, that's what they're like. I mean, this thing pulls them in like a tractor beam, you know. I would say if you get this for your geek lover this Christmas, be prepared.
Not to see them for a while.
But it may supplant you in their affection. I've just got to say, be careful.
Ali Catterall, thank you very much for your offerings this week. We'll see you again soon.